Okay, I didn't get a chance to try the equipment, so hopefully it works. I'm going to give you a personal view of walking in Hong Kong and also partially a government view. Now, one of the things about walking in any city is we do have to look at the topography and the density. So I want to show you a few pictures on that. And then the topography and density as far as it means for people who have to walk and for urban planners and government officials who also have to navigate these constraints to help us to do a better job. And then I want to show you what were some of the problems before in terms of walking, where we are today, and where we're going to go. Now, I always want to show people this map of Hong Kong. It's very important for any city to understand what your geography is like. So you can see that we have mountains. We have, in fact, very big mountains. Now, if you look at this, you can see the density of population. They're generally concentrated in the lower areas, lowland areas, where there is flat land. Now, Hong Kong doesn't just have high density. We have the most extreme density in the world. This does influence how we go forward in terms of what are some of the special things we need to do to link people to walking more easily. Our remarkable underground system is built also around the topography in Hong Kong. Now, I love this picture. What it shows you here is this density and the closeness of where we are to the mountains. Now, I walk. I've been a walker all my life. I love to walk because it gets the system going. I used to run when my knees were better, and it clears the head. So I'm definitely pro-walking. Now, those 4 zones, 1, 2, 3, and 4, are my default walking area. I live in Zone 1. I work in Zone 2. Zone 3 is my private garden. And Zone 4 is where I can go across the island. These are areas I walk around in all the time. So, I work a lot. I work on Sundays. I don't want to work all day on Sundays, so I plan to go into the office very early to have the quiet. And after a while, after 4 or 5 hours, I want to walk home because that clears the head and it gives me a little bit of enjoyment. So I want to share with you what walking is like from Zone 1 to Zone 2. Now, if we look at where we are, well, you know where we are. We're here right now. So my office is very close to here. What I'm really doing in walking is going from here up to here somewhere. So that's walking from Zone 1 to Zone 2. I live in one of those buildings on the side of the mountain in extreme density. Okay, I have 2 routes where I can walk home. I can go on the eating and rainy route. The eating thing is I'm a bit hungry after working for a few hours. I want to slurp some noodles before I get home. Or the weather is not very good. So this is my route A. Well, that's actually part of the route where I leave my office across a bridge. Now, I pass some quite nice places. And if it was a very hot day or a rainy day, I can actually, at one point, walk into the subway station and keep dry and keep cool. It's actually all quite easy. You've probably already heard in the last day, probably, about our escalator. This is genuinely a Hong Kong invention. It was actually built quite a long time ago, And it was such a good idea that I'm surprised we're only really seriously looking at building more now. It is something that we should have done a while ago, but in any case, we are doing it now. Well, I go up the escalator. My route B is the seaside route. The seaside route wouldn't have worked before, but today that is the path that I can take because the government has committed to really opening up the waterfront. And this exercise, this change of mindset has been in place for now really quite a number of years. The government took the decision not to reclaim more of Victoria Harbour, and there was a gradual shift in thinking about opening up the waterfront for enjoyment. This wasn't always the case. In fact, the history shows that this was supposed to be a working harbour, and somehow walking connectivity to the harbour was lost, and we're now trying to regain it. Now, there are some problems in walking in Zone 2, and you can see from those pictures that roadside pollution is a very serious problem. But of course, roadside pollution, we also have, well, you know, pollution generally, and our roadside is more polluted than obviously the ambient air quality. Now, however, what we have done over the years is to have tried to clean up air quality in Hong Kong. We have done a reasonable job, and you know, we just talk about the last 5 years. You can see that in terms of pollution, we have made good and solid improvements. It is not enough. If you're comparing the air quality of Hong Kong with the air quality of many other cities, our air quality is far from good. But it does take years to make these improvements. So I can reassure you that at least for our government, we have some of the biggest plans, I think, anywhere in the world to clean up roadside pollution. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about that today, but if anyone is interested, some of you know I can go on and on about this subject. We've also had improvements in terms of visibility, which is the overall air quality. Okay, now I'm going to now talk about Zone 3, which is my pleasure garden. Now, you could see that on this route, this is a recommended tourist route if you wanted to walk from Central all the way up to Victoria Peak. Hong Kong Island is basically a big rock. And we know that if you get to the top, it's very beautiful. So there has always been an interest for people to walk up to the peak. Now, this is my route. There is actually a direct route from where I live, but you do have to walk straight up the mountain. It is really good for your lungs, but it's phenomenally beautiful. You can get out of this high-density, noisy hustle and bustle of Hong Kong within just a few minutes and get up to a path like this. Then if you walk around in my area up in Zone 3, you come to beautiful areas like that. Now then, the last thing I want to talk about is walking cross island. In fact, Zone 4 goes from Zone 1 to the end, well, to really another side of Hong Kong Island. Now this is what I'm walking. This is what I can do. In fact, I used to walk the other way because I used to live on the other side, and I used to walk to school by coming this other way. Now, when I was a young teenager and doing that walk, it saved me a few dollars of the bus fare, so I can do something else with it. Now, it's all on the way in the next decade. These are some of the things, because of the unique characteristics of Hong Kong, that this is what is going to happen. Because we are a vertical city, because we have mountains, we're building these elevators throughout Hong Kong. You probably heard from Mrs. Carrie Lam yesterday about universal access. This is now a very major policy within government. How do we retrofit the city so that people all over the place, you know, living on the side of mountains, can go up and down much more easily. These various projects all over Hong Kong cost billions and billions of dollars, but this is the kind of retrofit that we're doing. Now, at the waterfront, I work in that office there with that hole in the middle. We're going to have more of this kind of more pleasant place for people to congregate in and to walk. This is West Kowloon. This is what it's like today. There'll be further improvements. East Kowloon. This is what it is today. There'll be further improvements. And lastly, the mountains themselves are remarkable. The first map you saw of Hong Kong, the mountains were shown much darker. Now the lighter parts, the yellowy parts, are all protected land. That means most of the mountains in Hong Kong are protected as country parks. Walking in Hong Kong is phenomenal. Thank you very much.